We appreciate that. Claudia and I are we're not from around here. We're originally from near Boston, Massachusetts. We moved down here about 35 years ago. We are Presbyterian. We attend Resurrection Presbyterian Church, which is a church plant on the east side of Athens from Redeemer Presbyterian downtown. We own Serpro of Athens. We do fire, smoke, water damage, all that kind of stuff. But we get to play in Nicaragua from time to time, and it's pretty cool. Y'all have already scared me this morning. You have talked about a running club. I believe a person is born with so much energy, and if you use it up, you die. If you see me running, call the police to catch the person chasing me, because he is after my wallet. So other than that, though, I appreciate being here. I have some other feelings such as that. Claudia and I like to camp. Now, we have two different views of camping. Claudia's idea of camping is to take a little pup tent, wander out in the woods, running water is the creek, and to camp there and build a fire and cook raw food and be out in nature. My idea of camping is a Holiday Inn without cable. So we kind of disagree on these things, and yet, in spite of that, we found ourselves in a nation that doesn't have a whole lot of cable, and doesn't have a whole lot of air conditioning, and it's got a lot of bugs. We were there one time and saw something kind of flap down the hill, and I heard two words put together that I never want to hear again. The two words are vampire, bat. That is not something you want to see, that I wanted to see. So I went inside. Claudia heads out down there to go look at that thing. 5-foot wingspan, they feed on cattle and goats and things like that. Now, but Nicaragua is a gorgeous, gorgeous country. Now, Claudia and I, for business, have had to travel to Hawaii. It was kind of roughing it. Somebody had to do it. But Hawaii, as you know, is gorgeous. Nicaragua has it beat. We went down the first time. My daughter was on a youth group that was going down there. And so we followed down as chaperones because we, at that time, didn't want to let Joy loose among those that she really didn't need to be loose around. So we wandered down. And so we fly down. We get into Managua. Managua is a nasty, dirty slum of a city. Used to be beautiful. In the 50s, 60s, it was something to behold, I'm given to understand. And there was an earthquake. And right after the earthquake that really took the city apart, you can still see buildings crumpled and roofs down and such. They ended up with the Sandinistas, and they had a civil war, which during the time of President Reagan. And everybody left the countryside and moved into Managua, and it didn't have the infrastructure. Suffice it to say, it is a nasty, poor, broken down city that doesn't function well. But the jungle is gorgeous. It is prettier than Hawaii. So the first night we're there, we're in Managua. They put us in a compound, and all the compounds there have walls because there's no real police department. So they put us in this compound. It used to be like a Hotel 6. And there's a couple of, they put all the guys in one hotel room. There were about 12 of us in, really, what's a hotel room? One little bathroom. Put all the women in another one. And then they had a cafeteria area that it was safe for us to eat because you don't want to drink the water down there. It's got some nasties in it. On top of the wall, you can tell how well off a place is down there because on top of the wall, they had broken Coke bottles and wine bottles and glued them with their jagged edges up to prevent anybody from going over the wall. I'm not sure if that was to keep us in or the nasties out. I'm sure it was to keep the nasties out. If you have some money, they put razor wire up. So we're there, and I like to get up early in the morning. So I'm up before everybody else. I'm used to Eastern Standard Time. They're an hour behind us. And so I'm up, and I wander over to the cafeteria. Don't speak a word of Spanish, But they had a coffee pot. Now, please don't take offense. It was a Baptist coffee pot. It was an urn about this wide, about that high, stainless steel. You brew the coffee in September, and it gets ripe somewhere around December, right? And I looked at that, and I love coffee, and I looked at that, and I said, oh, I need it. It's going to have caffeine. I don't care how bad it tastes. I poured a cup of coffee, and I learned right quick that not everything in Nicaragua is what it seems, because it's the best cup of coffee I've ever had. Second only to another cup that I'll show you later on with this PowerPoint. Now, the PowerPoint comes in two segments. There's the official PowerPoint, and then there's some pictures that we took afterwards. This is a ministry. It is a Presbyterian ministry. It is run by Mission to the World. Robbie and Murray Lathrop are the two missionaries. They hail from Columbia, South Carolina. He was a contractor for years and years and years, retired in his 50s. They wanted to do something more, so they learned the language and became MTW, Mission to the World missionaries, and were settled as the first Presbyterian missionaries in Nicaragua, in Managua. And they have done something there that is truly unique. And I want to show some pictures of that. This is, if you can see these, I don't know, we might want to cut off some lights, Mac, and or see if we can see them a little bit better. But this is Robbie and Murray and their extended family. Robbie and Murray are the only ones left down there. The rest of the family is married off, and up here in the States, their two sons, Ross and Reed. They have an adopted daughter, Micah. She is Chinese. Robbie jokes about her. She is they barely got her through high school. He says she is the only Chinese girl that can't do math. And but she is now in Lakeland, Florida, attending college, doing much better. She's very, very smart girl. She's like me. Doesn't do well in math at all. But then we have computers and calculators for that. This is the family, and they have settled in. You might say they've gone native down there. They love Nicaragua. They love the people. One of the things that you learn very quickly in any mission field is you can't talk to them. And Mac talked about this in Sunday school this morning. You can't just talk to folks about Jesus. You have to live the life. He asked a question about how does your belief work, and a lady in the class answered very quickly, through your actions. And so they discovered to be able to speak to the people of Nicaragua, you have to live with them. You have to help them. In many ways, just like World Hunger Month, you have to fill their bellies first before you can fill their minds. And you have to live the life that shows the love of Jesus before you can be in touch with them. Now, Claudia and I have been down. We've become close friends with Robbie and Murray. We've been down there half a dozen times. Being in a socialist country that is not friendly with the United States is always a little bit thrilling. Claudia and I have been hugged. All right, she was hugged by the Sandinista. I just shook his hand. But we have met some of the Sandinista government officials now that run the country. It is a broken down, failed state in many ways, and yet the people are amazing. Now, we went down there with a chip on our shoulders. We thought we're going to take this group down to Nicaragua, and we're going to help them. You know, we're going to build stuff. That first trip, we were putting a fence up around a jungle school. We had a fair and a festival for a different jungle school. We were going to help these poor, defenseless people, these poor, unhappy, defenseless, poverty-stricken people. And they are poverty-stricken. There's no middle class in Nicaragua. You're either one of the haves, which everybody in this room, regardless of your situation, just by function of living in the United States, you're one of the haves. Or you're one of the have-nots. And you'll see some pictures. Some of the have-nots, I mean, they don't have anything. We're talking about living in a hovel, cement brick walls, tin roof. You might have electricity some of the day. To get electricity, though, you have to wait for one of the daily blackouts. And then somebody shinnies up a telephone pole, gets to the electrical line, cuts it open with a knife, wraps a wire around it, maybe throws some black tape on it, and then shinnies back down, and now you've got your electrified house. If the power doesn't come on while you're doing that and kill you. And that happens weekly down there. Sometimes your power goes out and it doesn't come on because somebody came along and stole the line on your street when it was out at night for the copper. It is in many ways, I say, a failed state, and yet the people, one of the things that impressed us was the people are some of the happiest people that you'd ever meet. Yeah, they're dirt poor, they're hungry, they live like we really wouldn't want to live in many ways, yet they're very, and they wanted to know, why did you come down here? Well, we came down to help you. They get this confused look on their face. Why do you need, we've got everything we want. They have each other. Families are very tight down there. They have each other, and they have life, and it's a good thing to them. Ministry dynamics, what Robbie and Murray have done down there is started a ministry, and we'll look at each of these areas individually, but they've started a ministry that includes working with a jungle school. It includes working with a hospital in Managua, a deaf school, and then their main function is a farm. It's called Piñas de Paz. Now, I don't speak much Spanish, but that is pineapples of peace. He had an opportunity to buy a pineapple farm, and so he did. And that way he could put local people to work and use the money to build a retreat center, to build a place for teams from America to come down and stay, to build a place to train local pastors, which the local pastors have no training at all. Very Catholic down there, or very charismatic, but not much in between. And so Mission to the World now has several Presbyterian missionaries down there. There's some Baptists, there's some Methodists, but most of the country is either charismatic or Catholic. Pineapples of Peace, the ministry center. And now we fly into Managua. That's an experience. They have one runway. That's it. So the plane flies in, you land these huge 737s, takes every bit of runway to stop this thing. And then it turns around and drives back down the runway and then puts you into one of 5 gates. When you take off, you go out, you get on the runway, and they only have 4 or 5 flights a day, but you go all the way down the end, and then you need every single bit of runway to get that thing off the ground. You see Managua as you come in, you see Lake Nicaragua. It is the only freshwater lake that has sharks in it. Trapped there ages ago. Pineapples of Peace, though, is 30 miles to the west of Managua in an area called Ticuantempe. Little village, little area out there. There's a jungle school. You'll see some pictures of that. Takes about an hour to drive 30 miles to get out there. The roads are pretty rough. Some of the roads, the last time we were down about a year ago, some of the roads became impassable. The rainy season had started, and we couldn't get all the way out to the ministry center on one day. The roads had become so rutted. It is gorgeous. Matter of fact, right next to the pineapple farm is an area called Chocoyero, and it is a nature preserve. Chocos are parakeets. And when we're at the farm, first thing in the morning as the sun comes up, you'll see thousands of these birds fly out. And at sunset, they come back in again, twittering and flying, I'm guessing trying to avoid the vampire bats, as they come back in. And they get all sorts of tourist folks from Belgium, from Europe, that come in and make the trip out to Chocoyero. Some of these birds come as far north as Alaska in the summer, and then go back to Nicaragua in the winter. Again, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous area. One of the things they do at Piñas de Paz is they do training for national pastors and leaders. They have all sorts of meetings out there. They have built over time a lot of open air structures to meet under. You don't need you don't have to heat. It goes to about 90 during the day, down to about 70 in the evening. During dry season, it gets a little hotter. During wet season, it gets a little bit cooler. But they use this area for training the local folks. Also, short-term mission teams from June all the way into August. Every week, sometimes twice a week, they'll have teams come down from the U.S. If any of y'all would like to be a part of that, it would be wonderful. But they bring these teams down. The teams do fundraising, and so that they can buy, with the money that they fundraise, their trip, their food, airfare, as well as the building materials to actually work down here. And so they'll come down, they'll stay 4 or 5 days, some of them a week. They have teams as small as 3 and 4 people, all the way up. I think the largest team they've had to this point is about 60 people. They also have a couple teams come in over Christmas. They use this as a retreat center so that if any of the local churches from Managua and such want to come out, get out of the city, get a little bit closer to nature, although that's not hard to do in Nicaragua, you can come out and they will hold retreats and such. Right outside this community is Los Rios Community School. This is where Claudia and I hugged a Sandinista. And this kind of illustrates what goes on in Nicaragua. The school wanted computers. This is a little village school, goes all the way through high school, and they wanted computers. And so World Vision, I believe it was, said, all right, we'll give you 30 computers, but you have to make the room secure, which means iron bars on the windows, locks on the doors. You have to electrify the room, and it has to be air conditioned so that the computers don't get ruined. And so they did all that, and then Claudia and I came down to visit. The only thing they couldn't do was put an air conditioner in. All they needed was a window unit. And they sell this at a mall down in Managua. But they couldn't come up with the money. They'd done everything else. So our business bought an air conditioner for this little school. They had to have an assembly, and anytime you have an assembly where the village meets, the local Sandinista has to come in and speak, and that's how we got to meet him. So we put the air conditioner in. So several years later, we're back. How are the computers doing? Well, they're ruined because the air conditioners work good. They worked well when there was electricity. But the electricity only works 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's even worse. During the day, the AC would come on, cool everything down, and then the electricity would go off and everything would get wet because of the high humidity. It would be cool in there, and you'd have a lot of condensation. So now Claudia and I are looking for, if any of y'all have old laptops, iPads, old tablets that are well past use, donate them, because they will take them. We have an IT guy here in town, Paul Hayes, who will scrub them, take everything off, reset them with some basic stuff, and we take them down and give them to the folks down there, and they'll use them. They have no hope if they don't have any computing skills at all. But there's this small community school. Murray and Robbie work there. The teams will do fairs and festivals and teaching and such. They do home outreach. They have around a dozen folks that work at the farm, but they also try to work in the community. They may add on a kitchen. Now understand, they don't live in houses like we do. They're cement. Matter of fact, when you build a fence, I think there's a picture later on, there's a cement fence pole. If you have a sink, it is formed out of cement. The counter is made out of cement because this is a jungle. Wood rots, and it rots very, very quickly. And so everything's made out of cement. So one thing they'll do is they'll go in and maybe pour a cement floor. They'll put an addition on so that maybe you can have a sanitary area for the kitchen, something like this. But you have to, they may bring food in. Every time we drive out to the farm and back, we'll have cookies or something with us. Kids will run up to the car, give them some food. But if you don't feed their bellies, you can't talk to them about Christ. They'll do construction. They've built churches. They have built a lot of stuff on the farm. Everything has to be kind of homemade. As I said, they'll do construction at the school. They'll do construction at homes. And this is the stuff the teams will do. We had a fundraiser at Iris Place and raised over $5,000 so that they could put normal toilet facilities at Los Rios School. Basically, they were using the areas outside the wall for bathroom, for a public school. And the school has, I don't know, 70, 100 kids in it, and they'd have to go outside the school. So now, we had a team going down. They're going down this December. They didn't have the funds to do a project, so Iris Place supplied the funds for them, and they're going to build the toilets in over Christmas break. And that's the type of stuff they do. Community and economic development. This is what the pineapple farm is for, and they have expanded it from time to time, been able to buy through contributions more land, but it's to put the local folks to work and then giving them some dollars so that they can dress a little bit better, buy things they need, eat well instead of just eating whatever they can, and lifting themselves up a little bit. Again, part of the strategy. There is a hospital, the National Women's and Children's Hospital. There are two tiers of medicine in Nicaragua. There are the rich hospitals. You and I'd have no problem going to any of these. They're wonderful. They're much cheaper than America because nobody sues them, because if you sue the government gets rid of you. They're Sandinistas. So there's no threat of malpractice or anything like that, but the hospitals that we would go to are spotless. They're well taken care of. They're very good. But if you're a Nicaraguan, the hospitals are awful. And so they provide some outreach to the Women's and Children's Hospital. They're trying to buy some equipment, cleaning up for them, talking to the folks inside, providing some prayer and some comfort. There's also a deaf school. Claudia and I visited there last time we were there. School was out on holiday. Y'all might like this. The Mother's Day down there is a national holiday, and everything just stops so that you can go and help Mom. And that's when we were there. So the school was closed, but we got to go through it. It's a gorgeous school. If you're handicapped in Nicaragua, there's nothing for you. You can't participate in anything economic. You can't work. There's no help. There's no social network at all. Some of the things that we take for granted, there's nothing. And so some Americans went down 25, 30 years ago, established a deaf school to teach these kids how to work and how to be in a society, teach them how to read, teach them how to do Braille, teach them how to sign, and make it so that they can at least get a basic job so that they can survive. And they do some church planting as well. They haven't done much of this at this point, but they have been able to plant a church or two with local leaders, getting some local training, and that's part of the whole system. Do some projects. Do you know how you mix cement in Nicaragua? It's amazing. You go outside, you find a piece of dirt. You kind of rake the leaves away from it. You dump a bunch of sand and a bunch of cement onto the ground. And you kind of make it into a cone, and then you push a crater in the middle of it. You go get some water, and you pour the water in the middle. And you get a shovel of dirt from the edge, and you throw it in the middle. And as you fill up, the water overflows. You gather it up with your shovel, and you just keep mixing into the middle till after 10 or 15 minutes, you've got, instead of a pile of dirt and sand, you've got a pile of cement with some twigs and stuff mixed in with it and pebbles, and you shovel that into a 5-gallon bucket, and you go build whatever you're going to build. Stairs, sidewalks, or hotels. You drive through Managua, you won't see a cement mixer. You won't see backhoes or bulldozers. What you see is thousands of laborers with pickaxe and shovels. And they'll build the form to put a high-rise in. Well, high-rise for Nicaragua. And you'll see person after person dumping 5-gallon buckets of cement in. mixed on the ground. They might have 1,000 piles of cement on the ground that they're mixing at any one time if you've got a major construction project. You can't buy stuff. Every bus that has ever died in America has ended up in Nicaragua, I swear. Except last time, there were Soviet buses, Russian buses running some of the public routes. Somehow Russia has come in and stepped in and given some money to the government to buy buses. The government of Nicaragua was funded a lot by Venezuela until that leader passed away and that source of funding dried up. So now they're looking to the Soviets and such. But it is amazing construction. So to do anything, labor is dirt cheap. So if you want to build a road, you hack it out of the jungle floor with pickaxes and with shovels, and you make it smooth. You pour sand in that you brought in on your back, and you pour sand in, and then you carry these cement squares that link together. They're about 6 or 8 inches deep, and you link them all together, and it becomes a type of cement cobblestone road. And that's how roads are built down there, unless it's right in Managua. And then when it rains a lot, in the rainy season, it washes them all out, and you start all over again. So what can you all do? Well, we'll take your money. We'll take your prayer even more. The Lathrops are doing a unique thing because they're just not going down like missionaries as you'd think and preaching and teaching. They've gone down there. They're using a business model to feed the folks, to improve the community, and to lift up the people to where that they'll listen to them. And they have converted some folks. I should say I'm Presbyterian. God converted some folks and that have stood with them. Luis is one. We're going to see a picture. Matter of fact, let's go. There he is. Robbie is there on your left. Luis is on the right. Luis is actually my employee. He works for Serprov Athens. We send a check down every month, and it pays his salary. And so we have to go down once a year and do an employee review. Gives us an excuse to go down. Luis is one of these guys. He can do anything. He's the guy that can wire you home, do the plumbing, put the roof on, or help you assemble whatever, a treadmill, or he can help you put your computer together. He is one of these guys who is handy with his hands. He grew up in the jungle. He was conscripted at gunpoint as a teenager into the Sandinista army. He did well in it because he's one of these guys, if a half-track gets stuck in the jungle river, he's the guy that figures out under fire how to get it out. Robbie was down there when he was first starting his mission down there. He was trying to buy a car, and he was not doing well because that involves half a dozen bribes and a lot of patience. Luis heard him. The Sandinistas were coming into power. Luis, his family was falling out in the good graces because he wasn't a very good Sandinista. He helps Robbie, however, buy the car, and a friendship started. Luis found the Lord Jesus and is now the foreman of this Piñas de Paz, this business down there that is in Ticuantepe. He is the glue that holds everything together. He is a really good friend. Doesn't speak the first word of English. We speak about 3 words. Claudia speaks 5 words of Spanish. But he has been to our house. He has slept at our house. He has come up with Robbie and Murray. We get to understand each other. He and his wife. Now his wife teaches English at the American school down there. She can translate. But Luis is a wonderful, wonderful person. Now I said that the coffee was second, that I had in Managua, was second only to another cup. And you'll recognize me in the picture with Robbie and a couple other folks. The first time we were out there, we learned how to make real coffee. There was a ranger, I can't remember his name. Ricardo, I think it was. He was a ranger at the Chocoyero Preserve for the parakeets, for the natural preserve. And he came up to see what was going on in this pineapple farm. It was just starting to be built. And so he comes up, and it's windy, and we want a cup of coffee. So they build a fire, top of the hill. Ricardo pulls out an old pot out of his knapsack. They fill it up with water, and they boil the water. So now it's safe. While the water is boiling, he pulls out a sack of coffee beans that he had roasted. And they basically smash, mortar and pestle, smash the coffee beans down as small as they can get, throw the beans, just a handful, into the water and let it boil. We didn't have anything to drink it with, so we took our plastic water bottles and cut them in half and dipped coffee out, and that was probably the best cup of coffee, cowboy coffee, I've ever had. It was amazing. This is sort of a before picture, and then we have the after, what was and how it looks now. If you want to make a bathroom, you gather a bunch of guys, and you dig a hole. And you have to do it quickly because people are already standing in line. That's Micah waiting for them to dig this hole. And there's your potty pit. Now, it's not like a latrine that you might have had here in the 30s or 40s. It gets a little bit better. It's not just any latrine. It is not a mechanical, but it is a sewer. It has a cesspool that everything goes into. And the end result, you have a latrine. You have a bathroom. Not particularly flush toilets, but it's a chemical process. This is what they're building at the Los Rios School. It is what they have put at the Pineapple Farm to try to make it a little more sanitary. But it doesn't take too much to put in. The labor's cheap. It's the materials that are expensive. When we were there, we had a balloon thief. We did a fair. Cutest little girl, but boy, she went around. If there was a balloon laying around, that girl was going to have it. We had relay races. You see, Claudia, they would do arts and crafts. And again, you do stuff with the kids, and you make friends, and then you tell them about Jesus. We do the same thing here. What do you do in VBS or Sunday school? What do you do in outreach? You go visitation. You serve the needs of the community, and then you tell them about Jesus. And your very actions tell them about Jesus. Anytime you have a gathering there, not only do you have to have a Sandinista, but you got to have a steel band. These guys, I think all of them together had one set of teeth. Some of the best music I've heard. And you're going to have a party. If you have a party, you got to have a piñata. And then you got to hit the piñata. And they enjoy that. It's not the hit the piñata that you'd see around here. They hoist the piñata up on a pulley on a tree. And, we just hang the piñata and you bash it and you get the candy. No, they've got somebody over in the corner pulling on the rope. So when you go to swing for that thing, he runs it out of the way. You got to be good to hit the piñata. But they are after that candy and the stuff that is in there. But at the end of the day, they have to go home. And they have to go home to the jungle. And they go home to abject poverty. They go home to a lot of disease. They go home hungry sometimes. And you have to feed them. So what are we asking for? We ask that you would remember these folks in prayer. We would ask that if you can financially help them. Now, I know a Presbyterian asking for Baptist help, but it's a good thing. If you want to serve on a team, if you ever just want to go down there and look around, give us a call. We're local. Lee knows how to get in touch with us. Mac does. This is the point where I was going to throw a train picture in for Mac and Alan, just to make them pay attention. But pray for them. Pray for Robbie and Murray. They have a lot of obstacles with the government down there. Everything is corrupt. You just can't. We complain about our government. I do so on a regular basis. It's nothing like what they have to go through down there to get anything done. And they're gringos. They're not liked. It was very interesting when the Sandinista spoke at that assembly. He got rather red in the face. We got a little worried because he was going on about the great Satan, America, and how bad America was to Nicaragua. And it was their fault that Nicaragua was so poor, and it was they wanted to keep us under their thumb. And he just got red in the face and the veins sticking out. And he turned around and he says, but their people are good. and their people love us, and they come down. They understand. Americans drop a lot of money in Nicaragua. We're vital to their economic, I won't say success, maybe vitality is too much of a word as well, but they need us. But it's only because so many teams of Baptists, Presbyterians, and Methodists go down there and serve and help the local population, help the different schools, the deaf schools. They show a love for the people, and they just want to be your friend. At the end of the day, they just want to be friends. They just want to know you. They want to know about your mom and dad. They want to know about where you live and what you do. They just want to be your friend. And once they're your friends, you can tell them about that other friend, about a God that loves them, about a God that created the world, the very gorgeous world that they lived in, the God that went to the cross and died for them so that they could join him in heaven. You know, the Bible teaches to preach the word everywhere, to take the gospel, the good news everywhere, from Athens to Madison County, which sure does need it, to Nicaragua, to Africa. And so what I would ask you to do is to pray, to give to your own missions as well, because they need it just as much. And if you'd like to participate, if you'd like to see Nicaragua, it's really not that expensive. Put a team together. Old folks like us go down there. Yeah, there's not much air conditioning, but other than that, it's gorgeous. The food is unique. Come and join us. Thank you.